I struggled with how to word this video because I am both so grateful and so overwhelmed at the same time. If you've followed me for any length of time, my housing issues aren't really news to you. In 2016, I first shared publicly about being homeless, documenting our search for somewhere new for several months until we were settled. Videos slowed down after we got our new place as I tried my best to do everything I could to keep it permanent. But then in 2019, I had to come back and confess that what I'd been worried about since we moved in was happening, that due to gentrification, it was a better financial move for our landlord's property company to sell our home than to keep renting to us. We were able to push this off at the time by agreeing to a rent increase, but that made it even more difficult for me to keep updating you guys here, as even more of my time had to go towards finding more income. Well, unfortunately, working to improve our finances also backfired on us. We spent last year launching a mask making business and sewed over 10,000 masks to protect people, and everyone in my family did everything they could to contribute and help keep us a stable family unit during these chaotic changes that the world has been going through. I've mentioned multiple times that my family is extremely low income. We rent through government assistance, where a housing assistance service called Section 8 helps us afford rent by paying a portion of it. Up until September, we were responsible for around $500 a month. Every year, we are required to submit an annual recertification, and we did so in August, sharing the mask business and our tax returns that showed we barely broke even after expenses. We received a letter in August saying that our rent would go up about $50 in September. The first week of October, however, our landlord emailed us to let us know that we were behind in rent despite turning it in on time, because housing had sent him a notice saying that our rent had gone from $500 to $2,000 a month. We never received this notice. Our rent had quadrupled. We contacted housing to see if it was a mistake, but it wasn't, and they didn't care that a jump of 4 times what we were paying the month before was impossible for us. We tried to reason, asked if some members of our household moved out, like my brother or his girlfriend, would our rent go down? And they said that if the amount of people living in our house changed, they'd actually lower the amount that they were still paying. So the only possible way that they would consider reversing this rent increase would be if the people with jobs in my house quit them. So overnight, the other shoe finally dropped, and I knew that our house was going to be gone and that I was going to be homeless for a third time. And the most amazing thing was, I didn't even cry. I'm a big crier. I'm a huge emotional sap. I once cried when a zombie died on The Walking Dead. But every day since I moved into this house 4 years ago, I have never gone to sleep feeling like the walls around me were secure. I have never been able to envision myself 6 months in the future in the same place. I've always expected this to crumble around me. I've never really felt safe. So it was almost a relief. I no longer had to fear anything because my worst fear was finally happening. And I no longer had to worry about preventing anything or trying to plan for a future that I didn't really believe in. I just had to focus on keeping us safe, on floating on a raft in the wreckage until we had enough driftwood to send at least some of us to safer ground. The most frustrating part was that a mortgage would be cheaper than our new rent if we had enough money to buy our house from our landlord, something that he said that he was willing to do. Our monthly mortgage commitment would be less than rent anywhere in our area, and we'd never have to worry about someone else deciding where we were allowed to stay ever again. But that would require a down payment of at least $40,000 to $50,000, and that felt like a pie-in-the-sky dream. How are we supposed to come up with that kind of money when our rent was quadrupled just for getting a part-time job? I set up a GoFundMe that included this information, and I'll link it in the description for you to read down below. But I knew that we'd be lucky to get just enough to cover rent for the winter, and we have been. We've been extremely lucky for your generosity that the fundraiser has earned enough to secure us rent through at least January. And then about 2 weeks ago, a fellow author, Lake and Zaya Kemp, reached out to me to see if I would be open to a bookish auction on our behalf. My literary community is known for coming together to support important causes, like hurricane relief and voting rights campaigns and all sorts of other great causes. I have taken part in them myself, donating my graphic design skills and our sewing products. And I told her I was definitely open to it, but that I wouldn't feel bad if nothing came of it. I know that the single plight of one person does not compare to entire areas destroyed by natural disaster or other extremely impactful issues. We desperately need help, because the longer it takes us to raise the money that we need, the more of it will be hemorrhaged in this rent increase. But I didn't expect many people to care. I've really felt like I've burned most of my social capital already. And so it's been difficult for me to figure out how to film this video, how to explain to you that the auction is actually happening. It launches today, the 8th, and runs through next Monday, the 15th. The goal is $60,000, and there are almost 250 items to bid on. 250 items, personalized, signed, and annotated manuscripts. Manuscript and query critiques from respected editors, agents, and authors, curated book subscriptions, Zoom calls with business and career advice from incredible professionals. I plan to single out some to feature in this video, but I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how I could begin to focus so much time and energy and kindness donated for me and my family towards the goal of giving us stability, of giving me the ability to stay in this community and industry that I love so much, to give me the structure to stay so that I can help others in the future. I think you can understand why I'm finally starting to cry now. Everything is still uncertain for the moment, and I don't know how successful this will all be, but I will never be able to fully thank you all for believing in my worth, for supporting me like this. I hope the auction is super fun for everyone, and that you find something cool to bid on and take home. No matter what the final total turns out to be, my love for you is priceless, and I will do my best to stay here as long as you'll have me. The link to the auction is in the description. Please feel free to share it on your social feeds. Thank you so much for watching and contributing and donating. I love you all.